Good afternoon, everybody. We are back. The Big Man Campus, so we are live. I hope I didn't blow anyone's speakers out there. I heard that song today on the channel I listen to during the day when I'm capping and things like that, and I had to put that on. That's a classic. Little DJ Gene. That one has your speakers blown out, but. Welcome, Miami. The Big Man on Campus today is Monday, March 6, 2017. I'm here back with you live. Another day, another dollar, another week. We are, 6-7 days away from the start of March Madness. The brackets will be released. Lot to do, lot to get prepared for. And we got a card today. We got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. We'll get to all the games. My co-host, Donnie Rightside, he's going to join me here live in a matter of moments. Obviously, with Ryan not here, it's nice to have Donnie available to chat with about the card. And, obviously, we'll take your questions as well here coming up. Donnie Rightside, how you doing tonight, man? Donnie.
Yo, what's good, man?
What's up, man? Welcome in. Thanks for joining me. We're live. As always, Donnie, you can find me and him, the right side of campus, every Wednesday and Friday. We'll be there. We're actually this week going to be doing it at 12 o'clock Eastern. We're going to get an extra half an hour in with all the extra things going on. We obviously felt tomorrow as well with the roundtable, going to get an extra little bit of time to do what we have to do. So tune in tomorrow, 12 o'clock for the roundtable. Drew Martin, Donnie Rightside, Ed Fang, Ian Cameron, all going to join me live as we really, if you want to tune into a roundtable, I think, Donnie, we can agree tomorrow's going to be the one you want to tune into.
Yeah, we've been turning it up for the past couple weeks there, but finally that show was designed for the actual tournament itself, and now you can see everything come to fruition. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and obviously today you got a lot going on. We got a couple tournaments beginning today. Obviously, in a matter of moments, the MEAC will tip off. You also have some America East games. We got tournament finals in the Southern Conference, not the Horizon, this Colonial. We also have the MAC conference title game. We're going to get into everything tonight. Nothing is off limits. We actually have some of your favorite conference, Donnie, the MAC, the MAC.
Yes,
interesting things going on in that conference. So let's jump into everything here. Obviously, everyone out there listening, welcome in. The Buzz, Brad King, Albert, Tenosis, Lapizzi, Tyler, Taylor, everyone out there. Welcome in. I think my friends over at the College Court Report, they're tuning in as well. They do a great job of covering some of these small schools as well. It's nice to have some new publications chiming in and guys that do a great job, Donnie, covering some of these small conferences. There aren't many of them out there, but it's nice to have some colleagues that cover those conferences. Obviously, Jordan Majewski, the College Court Report, Alan Boston, all those people that do a great job of doing that. Donnie, you and I believe, can be one of those or two of those. We love the small conferences. So let's chime in and let's get going here. The right side on campus. What's up, Ash? How you doing? The Buzz. You must be in heaven with these minor conferences. I've been in heaven, man, since last week, man. I've been loving this stuff, and we got even small. We got some real small ones starting this week, Donnie. You got the MEAC, the SWAC, the Southland, all sorts of good small basketball to be had. Let's jump into it tonight, Donnie. First free play I'm going to recommend. Let's go to this one, Donnie. This is going to be interesting. I think people are going to be interested to hear your opinion on this one. You spent a lot of time with this conference. Let's take a look at 549, 550. I'm going to go with the Iona Gales tonight, Donnie. I'm going to lay the 2 and go with Iona in this spot. I think in this spot, I was skeptical to, and I'll be honest, I'm skeptical to back Iona. I've said that before. I haven't had a ton of luck with this team, but I got to tell you, I've liked the way they've played in this tournament. They've done some really good things. You obviously look at, against Ryder on Saturday, they looked fantastic. Obviously yesterday, they kind of wall-to-wall beat a pretty good St. Peter's team. I think we both agree that coming into this tournament, they were the hottest team in not only this conference, but in the country, really. And look, they scored 73 points in that game, much above the Peacocks season average. Looked really good. Jordan Washington, I know you really like him, wears his heart on his sleeve. But I think we're starting to always see that no matter what goes on in the regular season, this Iona team, year after year under Tim Cluse, is a proverbial a really good team in this conference. They're just always there at the end of the year. I know Siena's got the game at home tonight. Obviously, that's going to be a huge thing, and we could say what we want about that. This Siena team coming into this one, Don, really playing well offensively. Obviously, Nico Clarith in there helps and everything. But I think from where I'm looking at here, I just want to go with the better team. I want to go with the team that can, make me a big three-pointer at the end of a game. I'm not sure how good Siena is from the outside. I also look at the fact that this Iona team during the year lost the last matchup. They lost to Siena. I actually had Iona in that game. I remember it quite significantly. I just think Iona's the better team here, and I think in the finals, I want to go with the better team. I think Tim Cluse is going to have them ready. I'm not saying Jimmy Patches isn't a good coach or anything, but I just think Iona's the better team here. It's going to be a great game, though. Obviously, we want to hear your opinion. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I actually would have liked the game a little bit better if Iona was actually playing the role of the dog here. Between both of these teams, it's a very good matchup, and the reason I say it is you're looking at just a talent-on-talent perspective, big man. Iona and Siena, you have the guard play, you have the down-low play. Everything sort of folds in here well. The one thing that was really impressive about Iona, we all know they can score. That's a great front-running ball club, whereas they get you down 5-6 points, they can turn it up. They have no problem shooting the three, and they'll pull up, from anywhere on the court. Severe, Deshaun Much has been great this year. McGill, Cassell. Those guys are guard heavy, but the one thing that was so impressive last night with Iona is not coming from the, running ahead. They get ahead a little bit in that choppy first half. They're down at the break. They're down 8 points, and all of a sudden they turn on a 17-0 spurt against one of the best defensive teams in small conference play, being St. Peter's. When St. Peter's, as you know, big man, watching throughout the season, when they clamp down on you on offense, when you're down, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, they know they have you, and you have to start forcing shots up. Iona didn't blink and went on that 17-0 run to take the lead and held it for good. That was about as an impressive performance as I've seen from Iona all season long. Heading into the final, it does bode well. And, of course, we all know Siena is the home team in this, hosting the conference tournament final. They do put up a certain amount of dollars to be able to host that. And, again, nobody else in the MAC wants to do that. So I see, the tweets last night, oh, boy, Monmouth, top seed again, goes on the road. You basically got to play Siena, who's the home team. Monmouth could pony up the money at any moment and get that as a home court advantage for them, but they did not do it. This one is going to come down to a coin flip, Jeff. I actually would lean against you with Siena here just because of Nico Clarith coming off the bench yesterday in the second half and putting up 20-plus points. I think he hit 5 or 6 threes, or maybe even more than that in the second half alone. I'm leaning Siena here. It's their home court. If Clarith is healthy, I think it gives them the advantage. And again, they're playing the underdog role. By game time, you might even be looking at getting 3 points to Siena's advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here before, Donnie. I think we can both agree Iona's the more seasoned team in this spot.
The most talented team in the conference.
Yeah.
I said it all year. It's Iona.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, down this roster, whether you go to Jordan Washington, the best player, you go to a guy like John Sevier, who is just a sniper from the outside. Obviously, Sam Cassell Jr., the son of Sam Cassell Sr., Shadrach Kashmir, Deshaun Much, Ricky McGill. Plus, listen, it's a great coaching matchup, though. I want to point that out. These two guys, probably the two best coaches in this conference. Pat just does a great job. And look, you're right. Siena ponied money up to play in this tournament, or to host this tournament. So, again, that's why they're at home here. But I don't know. Both teams playing well. I'm going to take the team that I think is a little bit better personally. I will be honest, guys. I think the right play in this one will probably be to just, basically just lay the money line here. Just my opinion. Looks like
getting your point on that, Jeff, with Iona, Jordan Washington. You did bring up a good point. The kid, I think he's the best player in the conference, has the most talent, and is the biggest mismatch overall of any player there. The one thing that's crazy about tonight is if he just needs to keep it under control. If Yemi's 6'10", Bisping's a hard, power forward that's going to come at him. If he can just keep his wits about him and doesn't pick up like 2 early fouls where it really sets him off, because he's vulnerable to a technical at any point. We've seen it a couple times this season already. If he plays under control, there's no reason he doesn't go for 20 and 10 tonight and leads them to the championship. But the game basically lies in his hands, whether or not he wants to stay involved in his head.
Yeah, he's definitely an emotional guy. I saw him on Saturday crying after a technical. He has to get his emotions straightened out because this Iona team at times I've seen through the years make some stupid mistakes, and it's really going to be out who doesn't make that mistake. Jordan Washington can be the best player in the court every game. He just needs to not let his emotions get the best of him. I'll lay it. I'll go with Iona here. I am going to actually make a little change to my wager. I'm going to recommend you play them on the money line here. With this one coming down to the wire, I really don't want to lay 2 points here. I know I've talked about this before. Again, I'm not going to tell anyone how to bet. If you want to lay the 2, fine. Donnie, I've mentioned to you before. I'm a believer in laying a money line if I have to in a spot like this. In a game where half a point's going to mean a lot. I'm going to just kind of swallow my pride and lay the 140 here.
Yeah, especially in this situation, I agree with you on that because, Iona technically is a road team. You just want to escape with the win.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for listening, NCA_DGen. Appreciate it. Looks like he's saying he can barely hear you. You're the first person to say anything. Maybe it's just, maybe turn your volume up. I don't, but we will try to get that fixed here. It seems like you're the only one that's saying anything about it. But we'll try to get it fixed. Thanks for listening. Diner Mafia chiming in, Donnie. He's listening out there. I want to take a moment to really shout him out. I've done it before, and I'm going to do it again. His soccer's fantastic. I know, Donnie, you and I both were on the game today that he gave out. He is... there's guys with niches in this business. I have certain niches and certain small things that I do, as far as like Olympic basketball and things like that, NASCAR at times and boxing. But this Diner Mafia, he is the best of the best in soccer betting. He is a guy that I've known for a good amount of years. He's one of the good guys in this business. And I'm happy to know Diner. He's a great guy. He does a great job with soccer. He really does. He's up. If you're wagering $100, he's has you up almost $6,500 this year. Really doing a great job, and I just wanted to shout him out for it. He's free, he doesn't charge, and he does a great job. So shout out to him. Keep up the great work. Do you want to comment on that, Don?
No, I like free money as much as anybody out there, and you know me, Jeff. I laugh, say, hey, we got a soccer game today. Good, give me it. You come chime in. I don't even know. I forget I even put the wager in, and there you go. I got free money. Is there anything better than you don't have to cap for it? You have a guy who you could trust and says, just get on this game. You put it in, forget you even have the game, and then check your account and you're up. That's a perfect scenario, brother.
Yeah, he's very rarely a guy that, soccer is just constant. If he gives you 10 games, he's going to give you 6 winners. That's just kind of his, ROI. Really, really good guy, good foul. I hate he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, but other than that, does a good job. So we're really, really got something good there. His Twitter name is @Diner, DINER Mafia. He's a owner of some diners. So Greg's a great guy, and he's doing a great job.
By the way, anybody with a cigar in their picture for Twitter, that's
yeah,
right.
I know you like that. You're a cigar guy. So keep up the good work. Let's jump into the next game here. What's up, Big Reeves, Derek, T-Nosis, Chris? How you guys doing? Yep, thanks, Buzz. Appreciate it. Let's jump into the next one, Don. Let's take a look at Gonzaga hosting Santa Clara in this one. And they were premium for me on Saturday. I know you had a little taste of them as well. And look, after the first half, how about that? Up 2 points. Didn't look good. Had possibly their worst half of the season. I think we can all agree with that. They did not shoot particularly well. But then they come out of halftime. They go up 7, I think, 2 minutes in. And then I think we all kind of knew they were going to go on a crazy run. Didn't think they'd win by 30-plus points. But what an effort. And now tonight they got a Santa Clara team who, I will point out, I think, once you get past the Gonzagas, the BYUs, the St. Mary's, I think Santa Clara's probably that second wave of teams in this conference. The problem is the second wave is they're not very good. This conference is pretty poor in general. The bottom teams, the Portlands, the Pacifics, they're hideous basketball teams. And now this Gonzaga team's coming in here tonight in the semifinals on the precipice of a West Coast Conference title and a number 1 seed. And they get a Santa Clara team who they beat by 31 and 34 this year. They're 21-6 against the spread overall. And what's so great about the Gonzaga Bulldogs is when they face a good team, i.e. a team that shoots or has won games over 50% of the time, so a 500 record or better, they're 14-2 against the spread. What that tells me is they don't take anyone lightly. They're well coached. And, you look at this one. KJ Fegan, a guy that, other than Brownridge, is probably Santa Clara's best player, is not going to play tonight. So now you're taking 15 points out of the lineup and a really good basketball player, a guy that is a kid that constantly gives them good outings. I mean, gave them 22 against Pacific, 18 against Pepperdine a couple weeks ago. This is going to be a big loss. I just think this is a really tough spot for Santa Clara. The line's not ridiculously high. It's only 21. I think from the looks of things earlier this year, it wasn't a close matchup. A huge rebounding edge for Gonzaga, and I think they'll use that first half as kind of a point and say, look, we can't keep letting teams, particularly in the first half, have a shot. Because Donnie, we've seen with them this year, they start out slow from time to time. I mean, they had a tough start against San Francisco, recently with Pacific. I think we need to see a really full game from Gonzaga. I think we see it tonight.
Yeah, no, Gonzaga, the one thing you can always bank on, Jeff, is we know when they start slow. They might start slow on offense, but they don't start slow on defense. I mean, the number one rated defense in the West Coast Conference there, and by no surprise and by a large margin. The team is efficient on offense and defense. One of those games where, coming off the loss, a little bit deflated, had to wait around for a week, you go in a neutral court, you slow it down. Because me and you joked before the game, you grabbed it at 24 early in the day. I didn't fire on it, and I said, I'll take it up to 30. Well, it almost bit me because the line was 27 by the time I got it, and I know it closed around like 28 and a half, a 32-point win, so everybody cashed all the way around. But to me in this conference, again, Jeff, it all comes down to two-horse race. You were right on that. The top teams in this, they're really separated from 4 or below. I look for more of the same tonight, and it's not hard when you break it down to its simplest terms. Gonzaga needs to win 5 possessions in the first half and 5 possessions in the second half. They do it all the time. So anytime you have Gonzaga around a 20-point spread, it's really not that hard for them to cover because the talent between both of these teams is so drastic. And again, when all else fails, Gonzaga will clamp you down on defense and then throw it down to their big men. It's the perfect elixir if you're not hitting your jump shots or not having a really good offensive flow. They have exactly what you need. They're going to clamp down. They're going to do it again tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, they've done it all year. I mean, how many times, and I actually, I usually do this. I usually look at how many times they did win by, 21 or more. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, they've won a lot of games by 25 and 30 points. And you know what's interesting about their last game against Santa Clara, the game they won 90-55, Nigel Williams-Goss didn't play in that game. So, they did it all without their their guard. And they're going to need him to play well tonight because Josh Perkins was a little, he was a little banged up in the last game they played. But, I mean, you saw, even their backups. I mean, guys like, Zach Collins and Brian Alberts and Triano and, Ryan Edwards. I mean, they're pretty solid. This team is good to go. And if you have a team late where they put in their backups are still really good. I mean, they came in at the end of the game, and I thought, oh, no, they're up 28 with a minute and a half to go. Are they going to blow this? They came in and kind of added to the lead. So you don't have to worry about a lot of the time Gonzaga not covering these big numbers. They're normally going to be up 30 where it's not going to matter. I'm going to lay it here. I think we see a solid full game from the Bulldogs in this spot. But, yeah, Donnie, you got the bad side of a line on Saturday and still cashed. How about that?
I remember telling you early in the day, I said they can name their score, and I got it at 30. So I was comfortable with that, but that's a risky proposition when you lose 3 points, especially in a blowout. We saw the way the game was trending. 24, 25, 26 with like 4.5 minutes to go. When and that just shows the depth of what Gonzaga has where they can still pull away when the other team is just going to be firing threes and you're really not caring about it. The other thing I love about Gonzaga, too, is, it's very rare you have 2 big men with Collins and Karnowski. You're not even really worried, Jeff, about foul trouble. All right, so Karnowski picks up an early 2. You bring in Zach Collins. It's amazing the actual depth at positions that require it because if you get so many of these teams, 1 or 2,000 their star player, he sits for 12 minutes during a half. It's a runaway.
Yeah, and I think I kind of mentioned that. I think that's a great point you make. That's why in the tournament, I'm really interested to see kind of how that all works, because we saw in the loss to BYU, Eric Mika really kind of dominated Kornowski. He could not cover Eric Mika, and Few didn't do anything about it. It was something that I kind of wondered when he would address that, maybe go to Collins. But it's a nice thing to have, kind of a big tank kind of center down low, and then a guy you could bring in off the bench who kind of, is a little kind of a change of pace where he can go out and hit a jumper, he can go out and make a move on someone and hit a big shot. So they just have a lot of really good things going on, and we'll see what the story is with Josh Perkins. Again, this is a guy that I think it would hurt not to have him, but again, I think they have plenty of guys that will be able to step up here. Let's jump into the rest of the card. I got 2 free plays. I'll go with Iona on the money line and Gonzaga minus the 21 here. Let's jump into the rest of the card, Don, and see what other value there might be. I'll let you kind of have the floor here and just kind of throw in your a quick opinion on these MAC games. One point I do want to make before we do that, keep in mind, the first round of the MAC, which would obviously be tonight, the higher seeded team is hosting. Then, in the later rounds, they go to the Q, which is an odd way of doing things. I don't understand this way. I don't like it. If you either do it or don't do it, have it all at your higher seeded gym, or do it all in one spot. What is up with this? I don't like it. I don't. Are you?
Yeah, I just think it might. I mean, it just might give the home teams an extra chance to get some gate in there, and just to move forward and say one last goodbye. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because the other teams, once you meet in Cleveland for the games, you're almost playing like home games, away games, home games, away games. It is kind of interesting, but I could see where maybe you don't want to send Kent State, Central Michigan to the Q and have like 1,000 people in an 18,000 seat arena. I mean, I can see it.
I mean, I guess it does give some sort of reasoning to play hard late in the season, but not really, because if you're really good, you're going to be at the Q already. So I don't get it. First game here, Northern Illinois heading to Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan -6, over under 142.5. Totals. Big move on the total here. This one opened 137.5. It's been bet steadily all the way up to 142.5, and that's interesting. Obviously, a big move, 5-point move. You got 80% on the over here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting if you look at the MAC overall, Jeff. Even in the first round, I mean, you're technically supposed to have decent matchups. This one is the closest of them, and technically it's not really that close. I think maybe the prevailing line up there is 6.5, depending on where you get it at. Northern Illinois has been a complete failure this year. Supposed to be a much, much better team than what they are, actually losing 7 of 8 coming into this one. I think Eastern Michigan is the clear side in this one because they can do a lot of stuff which NIU doesn't want to do. NIU is that physical team that slow it down. We're bigger, faster, and stronger than you, but Willie Mangum and Ray Lee can get around that, shoot the 3, and play more of an up-tempo type pace. I don't like the way NIU is playing down the stretch. Eastern Michigan's a decent home team, even though they also did go through a stretch of losing about 6 or 7 in a row, but they righted the ship. They did lose their last game of the year with Toledo, but I think Northern Illinois is just overmatched in this situation. By looking at a blowout, no, but you're more likely to get the cover with the home team in EMU tonight than you would be getting the road cover with NIU. I look for this game to be anywhere between that 7, 8, 9. I don't know if it gets to 10 just because of the way NIU actually plays on defense, but I would lean EMU here in this situation and moving on to play Akron next.
Eastern Michigan, a pretty solid basketball team, well coached, good team. I mean, Ray Lee dropped 50 the other night against Central Michigan, hit 10 threes in that game. This is a team that loves to fill it up. I mean, they really can score. Obviously, we mentioned Willie Magnum, Ray Lee, James Thompson. They've been great. I mean, for the most part, they should be able to really kind of do what they want here against this Husky team that's been.
I'm not a big fan. This is almost the same identical team, Jeff, the NIU team that's been playing the last 2 to 3 years together, and they just haven't gotten together. They haven't gotten
they're not a team that is going to kill you from 3 and stay in a game. They also have really struggled lately defensively, as do most teams in this conference. I mentioned to you, Donnie, there might not be a conference I hate more than this one. I like it in football, but in basketball, I really don't like it too much. Another big move in this Miami of Ohio Western Michigan game. This one opened at 143. It went down to 141. BMOC up to 143. Now it's down to 138, 137 and a half.
Yeah.
Weird moves here in this one. Western Michigan getting a lot of love here. It's pretty unbelievable to me that Steve Hawkins, I believe, is their coach.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, he won't get any love for Coach of the Year, but what a job he's done there this year. This team last year was poor. And even early this year, they were, bad. They're getting crushed. Just weren't very good. I know you and I both noticed that. But at home, they just kept winning games. They've done a great job, really improved defensively. And look, this team had a kid who killed somebody earlier in the year. He was kicked off the team. He's obviously facing murder charges at this point. They rallied. They didn't let that get to them. He's done a great job with this team this year.
Yeah, even look at the departure of Connor Tabo, who I believe went to Boston College,
Sure.
transferring out using that one of those, senior transfer rules. That was a huge loss for them.
Yep.
One of the three-headed monsters from last year. If they add him and keep him in there, they had a good year, finished the top seed in, was it the West, I believe it was? But losing him and then still being able to do that was fine. Getting to the game itself, Jeff, when we talked this morning, you heard me in the background there watching some Miami of Ohio and Western Michigan footage from earlier in the year. Miami, Ohio is the least talented team in the conference. They don't do anything special. They don't have a guard that breaks you down. They don't have guys that rain from three. They have a big man that's, if you know Isaiah Johnson from the conference, this is like Isaiah Johnson light, like 4 inches shorter and like 20 pounds heavier, it almost looks like, the way he plays. They don't do anything well. The only thing that you would worry about is the actual overall pace of the game. Western Michigan is not really going to push it. Average length of possession 18, and if you look on Miami's side at 17.4, how many times in this conference that you see, though, when you get a double-digit team, almost similar to the Big 12, the double-digit teams are covering. If this line came in 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, maybe get it under double digits, I really would just like the side in Western Michigan. And you brought up a good point earlier, Jeff, with the totals moving up and down in this situation. I was really eyeing the total going under the number, but I don't know how much value you have right now where the total sits, because you would like that to be like 145, so maybe a 70. Both teams have to get technically into the 70s to get that, which Miami, Ohio doesn't want to play at that pace, and neither does Western Michigan. And you also have the nice side where you have one team is decidedly better than the other, so you're probably not getting that last 2-minute flurry. I would lean in this situation still towards the under, but I think most of the value is going, would have liked it a couple points higher here.
I'll be honest, Don, and this is just me looking at this. When I'm dealing with a Western Michigan, I can't bet under. I just can't. You look at this team. They're 25-7 to the over their last 32 games at home. That's pretty unbelievable. Miami of Ohio is good on the road to the over. I don't think Miami of Ohio is very good defensively either. I'm not sure, is Western Michigan's continued prowess on the defensive end, is that going to last in this game? I got to be honest. I think both these teams get to 70 for my liking. But again, interesting moves with the total here. Obviously, there's some definite wondering what's going to go on here. My guess is it gets over, but again, pace is important. Bowling Green, Toledo. I don't have a ton on this one. I've laid it with Toledo recently and had some luck with it. I know our first play of the day on the right side of campus, I laid it with them. This Bowling Green team has been just terrible defensively. I would look no other way than Toledo in this spot.
Yeah, you have the perfect storm here. Bowling Green terrible on defense, Bowling Green terrible on offense. Maybe they can stroke the three. The only one guy that I actually like on the team is Zach Denny, and he struggled from three this year, only hitting 32%, was much, much better in the past there. Wes Alcigar, average player. DiMaggio Wiggins is 6'10". He's a rare find in the MAC conference. One of those wiry type guys, super athletic. Doesn't have a great offensive game, but does present a lot of problems down low. But you can't go against, Steve Taylor. He's going to have his way with anybody that's going to try to match him up. Jonathan Williams as well. Toledo's the much better team here on offense and defense. There's no way I can back Bowling Green. But again, in the number that's coming out itself at this point, -8. 8.5 in that range. I think it even opened up at double digits there. It's hard in this conference because, again, you don't know how these teams are going to play, survive in advanced type mode. And there's not really, outside of the top teams like an Akron and maybe like a Buffalo versus a really lower seed team, you're not really comfortable laying double digits in this conference. It's really why I'm cold on these first round games, because you're asking technically for a blowout when Toledo's not an offensive masterpiece that they can just grind it out and drop 3 after 3 after 3, even though Bowling Green's a bad team. This conference doesn't have pull-away power other than Akron when they get going from the three-point line.
Yeah, and that's why I just time and time again have no interest in this conference, because I see just too much inconsistency. I mean, you look at Toledo, for instance. I mean, they beat Kent State, lose to Akron, beat Northern Illinois, lose to Western Michigan, beat Central Michigan, lose to Ball State, beat Eastern. I mean, it's just back and forth with, just mediocrity. I mean, this conference is so mediocre, it's not even funny. It's really just sickening. I mean, I don't know how you can honestly watch this conference on a regular basis and try to guess and make money with it. It's just astounding to me. I mean, even Akron. I mean, you look at their issues this year at times. I mean, I don't know. I'll salute if you like to bet it, but I think the only way you do it is bet overs in this conference. That's how many times have we seen kids drop 50 this year? Yeah, I'm not crazy about trusting Toledo and laying 8 points here. You need a double-digit win. You look at some movement. Looks like Bowling Green getting some love here. Might be sharp money here in this one. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. Central Michigan, last one. Central Michigan at Kent State. Kent laying a pretty big number here. And I, for one, have made an inference on Central Michigan. If they're playing a team with a good big, they get eaten alive down low. But I wonder, are their guards good enough to kind of handle Braylon Racin and Marcus Keene? I've seen this year with this team, when you can really kind of bottle those two up, this team is really, really, really bad. Watching them defensively is laughable. But look, Jimmy Hall, 10.5 rebounds a game. Kent State, one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. To be honest, Don, I would actually kind of look over here. I don't really think we're going to see much pushback on the defensive end. Obviously, a very high total. I hate betting totals in the 170s or close to 170. You really need a perfect effort from both sides. But, overs have been good for Central Michigan. Not in love with this game. I would look for a lot of points, though, probably.
Yeah, I mean, Hall's going to ravage that team.
Sure.
There's no, but you look for a guy that has the capabilities of what Central Michigan doesn't want to defend, a guy almost like a Charles Barkley type.
Sure.
I'm going to get every rebound. I'm going to do whatever I want down low. Just throw me the ball. I'll take 3 steps. Nobody's going to defend me, and I'll lay it in every single time. If you look at Central Michigan, what a disappointing season with a bunch of guys that you technically wanted to root for, in the Marcus Keens and the Racins, even DeLeo. I mean, when you watch these teams, Kaczynski, all they do is run down the court, fire threes. They're a lot of fun. Had success during the mid part of their MAC run, but it looks like, what have they lost? 7 or 8 coming into this. And a lot of these games, big man, it doesn't even seem like they even wanted to compete. Ball State dropped after the Ball State loss in overtime. Northern Illinois dropped them by 30 points. Toledo dropped them by 21. Eastern Michigan drops them by 30. And that little, Western Michigan, Central Michigan rivalry, they still lost by 8 points there. Heading in on a downturn, only a couple days ago they played that last game. The one thing that, if you're a contrarian bettor, you might say, well, Central Michigan knows they weren't going anywhere, so they didn't give a damn heading down the stretch. They're just going to, recoil and play well in the tournament. That doesn't work. So there's only one way to go in this game, and you can't lay it with Central Michigan. If you want to lay it with the over, I get it, because there's no filter on Marcus Keene. This is the last game that he's going to play. He's going to go down firing, and I mean, crossing half court and just rising up. If he gets it going, he could drop 40 points tonight. If not, I don't see them staying within 10 points tonight, just because I don't trust the way they played down the stretch, and they have all the signs of a team that quit. And if you don't play any defense and you quit, that's a bad sign.
Kent State only second to North Carolina in the country with over 15 offensive rebounds a game. They will have a lot of second chance opportunities. You look at it in the first game these two teams played, Kent State had 17 offensive rebounds, won the game 105-98. Jimmy Hall, 28 points, 12 rebounds. He was 12 for 18 from the floor in 38 minutes. That would be ravaging. He'll do the same tonight.
Same thing, Jalen Walker. I mean, those guys are junkyard dogs going after the ball, and that's completely the opposite of what Central does.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at in the first one, these teams only shot. I mean, Kent State only shot 45%. They only made 8 threes, but they made a ton of foul shots. Both these teams got to the line. Central Michigan made 14 threes, and Racin and Keene went off. Keene had 41. racing at 26. They're going to score in this game. It's just a question of can they push it up into the high 80s for this one to get over. I wouldn't be willing to bet against it. Should be a fun one if you like scoring. This should be the one game I would probably watch in this conference tonight.
Yeah, another side additive there. As you know, Central Michigan likes to push it and play a lot of pace. That's going to play right into Kent State. Not because they want to push it and have pace, but they actually have about 37% of their bench minutes playing in this one as opposed to around 20% for Central Michigan. So foul trouble, if you're getting to run a little bit of ragged, they have guys that come off the bench and produce. So
sure.
See what happens.
Shout out to the couple other listeners here. Joey Washball, welcome. Scooter listening in on Twitter. Joey Watson up in Upper Darby. We mentioned Diner Mafia as well, and Evan in as well. That would be probably the one game in this conference that I'd have some interest in from a betting perspective. But all four MAC games, not in love with any of these really.
No, there's much more value down the line when the big boys start getting in that you can actually divulge. But if you're looking for a first round that's technically not supposed to be that competitive, you found it right there in the MAC.
Yeah, and you mentioned good point with Keene. He's gonna be firing.
This is it. This is it for him, and he wants to go out with a flair. So
sure.
they're gonna play him all game, every second, and run every play for the kid. One
thing I will give the MAC some respect for is they are a very good rebounding conference. Whether it's Jimmy Hall or Stevie Taylor over at Toledo, they do a great job of rebounding. There is a good pace in this conference too, generally. So, we know Central, they're going to run pretty quick. So this one should be fun. Let's move on to the next one here and kind of get into the rest of these games. Final down in the CAA, the Colonial, get NC Wilmington -3 against Charleston. Keep in mind, this is a home game for Charleston. They're playing in their town and in their building. So, that's always, helpful, sure. But you look at the clash in styles here, it really makes it tough from a betting perspective. Charleston obviously really slow tempo, want to play in the half court, want to play great defense. I mean, this is one of the best defensive teams, Donnie, in the country from a scoring defense standpoint. College of Charleston sitting at 23rd overall, 63.7 points per game, which is obviously fantastic. Can they score enough here? That's the question. I mean, they have played better offensively lately, though. They're starting to put the ball in the hoop, which is helpful because their defense is so good, and they're a great 3-point defense. I mean, they're really, really good on the line, and they hit free throws. Wilmington, 85 points a game, up tempo, don't play a hell of a lot of defense. They want to outscore you. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm not interested in guessing who's going to be able to establish tempo. You look at the first two games this year. College of Charleston won 67-66. Wilmington won 65-59. Good luck. My advice, I guess I take the points here, honestly. I prefer a defensive team as opposed to a team that's just going to run and hope to turn people over. I think Joe Cheatley's a great player. I wish College of Charleston still had Canyon Berry. They would have been a lot better than they were this year. But with the home atmosphere, getting 3 in this spot, I'm going to take a shot here with the 3.
It's a great point you bring up with the College of Charleston, big man being the home team. I mean, doesn't the scenario look almost identical to the Metro Atlantic? What happens if you flip positions here and you put Iona home versus Siena and you put UNC Wilmington home versus Charleston? I don't think there'd be a question of either way you would go, but this just throws another wrench in there. The only thing that I worry a little bit about at College of Charleston is they do rely a lot on Joe Cheatley. He's really good. I mean, first team all conference, don't get me wrong, but this team from UNC Wilmington coming back from last year, CJ Bryce, Flemings, Ingram, Kaycock, I mean, they have multiple weapons that they can go to. It's an interesting look at the game because UNC Wilmington in conference number 1 overall on offense. College of Charleston number 1 overall in defense. I would lean towards the home team here, especially if you can get 3 points on your home court with a team that can really play defense. We've seen it time and time again, big man. If the threes aren't falling and your offense isn't rolling, what can you lean back on? That defense there. If they throw a little of a wrench, being used to playing on their home court, you see it all the time. I lean College of Charleston. I tried to break it down all morning long, a way to find UNC Wilmington, but the simple fact that, again, you let off with it. They're the home team in this situation, technically, and that's going to come up big. I lean College of Charleston. If you can get 3 points, I think it's a nice play, but don't get me wrong. This is one of those games that could go either way. I mean, UNC Wilmington, to me, all year long has been the best team in that conference, but the fact that the College of Charleston is actually playing extremely well on the defensive side of the ball. And as the home team here, it's hard to overlook getting points being on your home court.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Cheely gets a lot of love, but like Jarrell Brantley, really good rebounder, kind of a good big for them. A guy that's kind of really come into his own this year. And we forget. I mean, they lost like I think you said Canyon Barry last year. He transferred. Yep. Peyton Holsey, hasn't played all year. They have a nice starting five. Can they get some production from the Marquise Pointers, from Chavez Goodwin? Can they get those guys to kind of step up and give them an edge off the bench? But look, both these teams and both these games this year have been very good at efforts. I mean, decided by a couple points. If you like 3-point shooting, probably not going to be the game for you.
No.
You look at it in both matchups this year. Now, this is pretty astounding. I'm not sure I've seen this before. In both matchups this year, not one team shot better than 22% this year in this game. I mean, you're not going to see any threes in this one.
No, there's lazy defenses that we watch all year long.
Sure.
What you want to see in this one is there's athletic point guards, but the one thing you're going to love tonight is when they set the pick and roll at the top, they're not going under the pick, which means that I'm not just going to give you that step-back three anytime you want. They're going to get in your face. You know as well as I do, Jeff, we've watched Towson all season long get better and better. It's a shame they had an injury, gunshot wound to Davis.
Sure.
But go back if you even looked yesterday at the way that College of Charleston played Towson. That defense was incredible yesterday. Held them to 59 points when Towson had been rolling along. I just think it's a case of maybe one of those hot teams playing well and being at home. I think not one of those where you say, take it to the bank. But if you're going to lay some points here, I would lay the points with Charleston. I just would, even though I don't think they're the better team.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good defenses in this conference. The Charlestons and the Towsons, and there's teams that play some defense. Obviously, there's some teams that don't, and they're not here. So, defense wins. I'll take the 3 with the home team, just kind of something I'm looking to do. As far as from a money line perspective, no, I think the value's in the 3. You're not getting a ton in that money line. You probably will get 135 back. I mean, I guess if you have a burning desire and think they're going to win, I would prefer to just take the 3 in this spot. I think it'll come down to the wire. It's really a coin flip on who's going to win. This one will be probably decided by 5 or less. Let's move on to the next one, Donnie. Really good breakdowns. People are liking this stuff. Keep the questions coming in. Youngstown State, Northern Kentucky. Not a huge opinion on this one. I think this one was kind of a situation where Northern Kentucky, I think they're the much better unit here. Youngstown obviously had some good luck. They did play well against Oakland, though. But for me, just a team, I think, just happy to be here. I think Northern Kentucky will kind of pull away, similar to the way you saw like Campbell yesterday. I think Campbell was just a little overmatched in that game. I thought they'd be a little bit better than they were. Didn't really hit many shots. Could see a similar situation here. I would go with Northern Kentucky. They should win by double digits here.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky from an offensive perspective versus Youngstown's really not really a match. I mean, Youngstown's not going to stop you from 3. Youngstown's not going to stop you from 2. They might not foul you that much. They're not going to turn you over. They're not going to rebound all that well. They don't do much well, and that's what hurts. And if Northern Kentucky is going to take 41% of its conference threes, and the other team is going to defend you at 35% on that end, more or not, they're going to fall. And then you say, okay, when Youngstown has the ball. If you've ever watched Youngstown, it's pretty much hurry up and shoot the 3. We'll see what happens. And that's why they only shoot 30% from 3 in conference. If they hang around, it's only because NKU is just playing terrible basketball. But if you can't defend and you can't really play offense, I can't really back you, basically what it says.
Yeah, and they don't have many ingredients that you would want for an underdog. I know they've done well in this tournament, but this tournament's been a total mishigas of crazy shit going on. They don't make free throws. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. So, I would lean with NKU, but this one's not going to be my betting card.
Yeah, no.
Milwaukee, Illinois, Chicago, I have a premium play on this one. Do you have any opinion on this game, Donnie?
I'm not a big fan of Milwaukee. I think to me, the under is probably more likely as the better play overall in this one, just because of the way and the styles that are going to come in contrast. I don't have too much overall in this one, and I don't really even want to get into it because I know you have a premium play. I wouldn't even want to skew anybody listening to that. Yeah,
under, I'll just say, looks good. Santa Clara, Gonzaga, we talked about Brigham Young, St. Mary's. Coin flip for me. I would think, again, this should be a pretty pro BYU crowd, but that SMC crowd normally travels pretty well also. I don't know. I think BYU is obviously the better offensive team. I think personally, but St. Mary's is very good and efficient as well. Pace obviously is going to be important. They've had trouble BYU this year against St. Mary's. I don't see any reason to think that they won't this time either. That pace can really slow you down. And I just don't know how good BYU is. I'm not crazy in this game. I didn't look much into it.
No, I would lean towards St. Mary's in this situation just because I actually think you're getting technically a little bit of value here with St. Mary's because everybody, Joe Public's going to remember like, whoa, that BYU team beat Gonzaga. Now they're getting 7 points. I think it's one of those type of effects here. I think St. Mary's will just ground you into a halt because if BYU wants to get out, run, and shoot threes, let's just say they don't start the way they want 6 to 7 minutes in and St. Mary's is up 10 to 4. It's almost like they just put that vice grip on you the rest of the game. Make sure they get the good 3-point look. Make sure they get the good 2-point look. Get to the free throw line. It's one of those games I would tend to stay away from, but I wouldn't back BYU in this sense just because they beat Gonzaga and they're getting points. I look at it as the reverse. I think St. Mary's is going to grind this one out somewhere around that 10-point win. Keep it in that 70 to 60 type range where it's going to come in somewhere in that 130 range is what I have. It looks like 140 is the total. It's hard to bet an under with BYU, but you can't bet an over with St. Mary's. So I would lean towards the under 140, somewhere around that 70 to 60 type game.
When it comes to possessions per game, St. Mary's the slowest in the country at 61.8. So that is their MO.
They don't even look to. You've seen it, Jeff. They don't even look to push the ball.
No.
They could have a 3-on-2, and they're just going to dribble to midcourt, look at the coach, get the play, hold up the one finger, and run an entire 27 seconds off the clock. Yeah,
it's hard to watch at times, but they are pretty efficient, which is good. Next one. Did you got? No, we have not. We will in a minute. How much do uptight refs come into factor? As far as what? As far as it a total? Very much a lot of the time. You look at last night in that IPFW game, Donnie. A ref will decide totals at times. They're very much involved. I think we can both agree with that. Let's move on here. Let's go to this one. South Dakota State, South Dakota. This is going to be a great one. They're anticipating a record crowd to watch this game up in Sioux Falls. Obviously, you got the battle for South Dakota here. South Dakota State and South Dakota. I mentioned on my show last night, kind of my conference tourney preview, if you will. I think Mike Daum is a player that, if you haven't seen play, fantastic, really good. Really good big for this team. Really has kind of kept them in games and has won them games this year. He dropped 50 recently against Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. Really just kind of did whatever he wanted. And look, they've won 4 in a row. They're playing good basketball. Had a nice win against Denver last night. And look, they have kind of the home crowd in this one. So does South Dakota, though. I mentioned I think they're the best team in this conference, but this Mike Daum kid has really carried South Dakota State. This is a real toss-up because I think you're going to get some great emotion from both teams. I think it's going to be a good game to watch. If you have ESPN 3, you probably at 7 o'clock want to watch this game. Going to be a battle. It's hard for me to bet against South Dakota due to their success against the spread this year. They've just been fantastic. Leave it to me to bet them, and they don't cover on Saturday. The motion's going to be high in this one. It really looks right now to be a total coin flip to me.
Yeah, looking at itself, this conference always makes me laugh, big man, when I see the 3-point shooting percentages. Like, you would look at South Dakota and the way they're coded in conference. They don't shoot the 3 that well. They're 8th overall in the conference, shooting 37.8% from 3 as a team. It's unbelievable. Like it's if you don't shoot 40% from 3, you're a terrible team. Whereas you put that 37.8 in 90% of the other conferences, they're the best shooting 3-point team there. It's just a matter of whose shot is going to fall, whose shot is not going to fall in this one. I don't have much because anytime you match up the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense, and then the other setup between the offense and the defense aren't too efficient as well. Both teams technically defend the 3 well, but when you're saying technically, one defends it at 37%, the other at 38%. It's just a weird type of dynamic in this conference where every single team shoots the three well. It's not really a matter of if you defend it, is if just that the other team is a little bit cold, only hitting 30% of their shots. I don't have much here on that one other than it's going to be a good ball game.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some funky and goofy movements today in some of these games. I mean, you look at this total, 155 at basically at noon, it was down to 151.5. Now it's back up to 155. Very odd moves in some of these games. At 151.5, I would have said over, but up at 155, you're getting pretty high at that point. Don, I know we talked about this one, you and I personally. I know you might have a premium on this one. Did you want to avoid it or
Which one?
This Omaha IUPUI game?
No, yeah, you know what? We can go over that because I don't think I'm going to be actually on that game as a premium, though.
Okay. Yeah, I know you and I talked about this one. This, guys, I will point out, this was like really close to making my card. It was really close. The over here looks good. I know last night Donnie mentioned he had the over in the IPFW Omaha game, and it just kind of missed. And I think the problem with that total last night is I think it was just set a little too high. I think this conference's kind of ceiling is 165, maybe up to maybe 167. That's probably the ceiling for this conference. It's really good as far as scoring is concerned, but I think I myself personally had a lot of success exploiting these totals in the high 140s, low 150s. But you get these two teams, you can argue these are the two best offensive teams in this conference. I mean, these teams go up and down the court. They both jack it from three and make it from three. Omaha's pace is really high, same with IUPUI. Neither team defends at a high level either. And even in last night, I watched that entire game last night, there were a lot of bad breaks for both teams. A lot of fast breaks and turnovers and just kind of missed opportunities. But even then, it still almost went over the total. I think this one is priced at a better point. I think at 165, 166, you're getting a lot more value at taking the over here as opposed to a game in the 170s, mid 170s. I think this total's right where it should be. I think with the right pace, this one should get over.
Yeah, I mean, look at these. Again, we get back to the conference of this one, Jeff, just going over the three-point field goal percentages. Number one in the conference for Omaha. As a team, 42.6%. As a team, not just one guy.
Sure.
The team damn near shoots 45% from three. Flip it over to IUPUI, 41% as a team. I don't know where they grow them or what they feed in this conference, but I mean, these guys light it up from three. You are going to get a little bit better of a tempo situation here. The one thing that's interesting in this one is IUPUI is the number one defense in turning over the opponent, and then Omaha is second in the conference. So what you need to go your way, people, if you're looking for a total, which, again, in the game last night, you didn't get very many fast break points. You got a lot of dead ball turnovers. The turnovers you need are the balls where you're throwing it back and forth at the top of the key. You stick your hand in there and get a pick off, and you get an easy 2 points, and then run it back the other way.
The problem in last night's game was, and I watched the entire game, is they had a lot of those opportunities. The problem was they would look to pass it and it go out of bounds or something bad.
No finisher. Nobody just wanted to take the ball to the rack, get an N1, or just get to the line for two. It was a complete anomaly of what typically happens because when teams turn it over, at least half of those run the other way in an odd man breakout, and you didn't get as much of that scoring as you needed. And you need that when you have 170.
And you look at in this conference tonight, I mean, in this game, this Nebraska Omaha team, defensively, opponent effective field goal percentage, 54.5%. That is putrid. IUPUI. Yeah, theirs is 54.3. These are two putrid defensive teams. Putrid. It should get over, I would hope.
Man, it looks at 9:30 start, Jeff. I mean, hey, you never know where we're going to be at tonight.
Yeah, I hear you. This one looks to be like a 95, 91, 88, 86 type of game, something like that. This one should get to 170, I would hope. But again, I want to point out, the ceiling for college basketball total is the highest you're going to see, other than with like a Citadel or Savannah State. For me, my cap is usually 170. Anything above that, I'm skeptical to get involved with it. That's just so high. You really just need a perfect game. But we should see a crazy one in this one.
No, it's going to be. I'll be that number one. I'll be watching it because it's the basketball I like. When you just
Sure.
penetrate, kick out for three, and they bury almost half of their threes. It's fun to watch.
You look at the first game on February 8th, 89-78. You look at the other game, 79-71. That's not the game we want. We want the second
And keep
game.
in mind, in this one, the good part about that, Jeff, is it's not their home court, either one of these teams, but they have played there. They have the sight lines down. They slept probably in the same bed, same hotel.
Yep.
They might be a little bit more on point tonight.
Yeah, from a side perspective, I got to tell you, I liked this Omaha team. Good fight from them last night. Played well, but I got to tell you, you're really flipping a coin here with this one. I was impressed with IUPUI beating North Dakota State. That's a good win. North Dakota State's a proverbial good team in this conference. I was surprised by that outcome. I really was. I thought, it was really just a case North Dakota State couldn't make a basket. That was kind of the issue. Sidewise, I would lean Omaha here. Next one, let's kind of speed it up here, and we will get to the rest of these. East Tennessee State, UNC Greensboro, the Southern Conference Final. TJ Cromer just goes off last night for East Tennessee State, drops 41 points. I had a little tease at the end. Sanford made it a game, Donnie. It was a 7-point.
Make a layup, man. Make a layup for the big man.
It was an 8-point game with 30 seconds to go. Sanford had the ball. All they had to do was make a basket, and we were going to coast into a winner. They decided to miss, then foul again. The kid makes 1 of 2. It's a 9-point game. We still have another opportunity. They go down, miss a jump shot, and run the clock out. So a 9-point loss, getting 8. So kind of a tough one there. But I would ride the hot, two hot hands here, really. But I've bet on East Tennessee State. I like what they're doing. I like obviously Cromer and Mosca Perea is a big beast down low. Really good player. Greensboro's got the home court advantage here, but I don't know. Something tells me East Tennessee State's the better team. I'm not particularly in love with this game. I think Eastern Tennessee State is kind of, playing better right now. They're better defensively. And they were beaten twice this year by Greensboro. I think there's some good revenge in this one. I would lean East Tennessee State here, but I'm telling you right now, this won't be on my card.
Yeah, no, it won't be on mine either. It looks like the line has come down a little bit. The one thing that looks like East Tennessee is going to be a little susceptible to is the three-point line. Greensboro shooting 39% as a team and shooting 39% in conference from the field goal attempts per game as opposed to 2 points there. So they're going to be a little susceptible there. It's one of those coin flip type games. I think the number is about right at 5. It's going to come right down to the end there. And again, having the home court advantage is always going to help. But I might lean a little bit towards UNC Greensboro again, just getting that home kick there. Because again, sight lines, they're going to be used to it. If they're going to shoot the 3, they're going to shoot it well at home.
Also, shout out to the imbeciles on Twitter that post winners that they had, that they give out two games at minus 450 and minus 450. Parlay them, get back 57 cents on a dollar bet, and pound their chest that they're big timers. Stop it. You look like an imbecile. You shouldn't be giving those plays out to your customers. You look like a moron. Stop doing it.
Like you could come on and tonight and say, you know what, Jeff, we'll go with the right side of campus plays of the day. We'll go Moneyline Parlay. We'll go Gonzaga tonight. We'll go St. Mary's, and we'll top it all with Northern Kentucky. And then, you know what? We even stretch it out with Kent minus 10. That's your play.
I mean, who in the right mind would pay for that? I mean, really? You could get a monkey to pick those games, and he would probably do the same job. I mean, really? I can understand, you do a great job, good for you. But don't be touting that you're giving out that bullshit. People don't pay for that.
Yeah, usually when you pay for a service, you're paying for information, so you're paying for something that the average person isn't, maybe keened in on. You have a good situation, a good side. Anybody can just say, I'm going to take 4 of the best teams on the card and just match them up, and there's what it is. That's not really what it is. Looks like Burns on the chat box. Big man says, Donnie, who is your Final Four as of today? It's pretty much a chalk type of line. I think actually Gonzaga, this is the year that they get to the Final Four. I love Villanova all year long. I think North Carolina is playing at the right type of pace and the right type of time that they can get into that one. And one of those outliers there, you can't even really call it an outlier. It's going to be between Louisville and Kansas for me to bust into that Final Four, into that 4th spot. Any thoughts on that, big man, what you're looking at?
Yeah, I talked last night. I think, Gonzaga's obviously, they're going to be in there for me. I mentioned Kansas. SMU, I'm really high on. there are other teams. I mean, Villanova's very good, but I don't know if they have good enough bigs to get there. I think Josh Hart would have to go on kind of a Kemba Walker type of run. I'm definitely high on Dayton, a team like that. I don't know. Arizona, I would probably put in there. I really believe Markkanen's a special player. I think they're finally going to get somewhere with that team. Sean Miller's kind of, he hasn't gotten to the Final Four, so I think he will this year. I think Trier's huge for them. I think they'll be the team standing at the end of the Pac-12. But one more thing, Donnie, just wanted to point out. For whatever reason, these MEAC games are being delayed. I don't know what's going on.
I was just going to ask you about that, too, because I have it up on my monitor. It just says delay on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I'm trying to find out what that's all about. It's clearly not a weather thing. I mean, it's inside. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get some info on it. But, other than that, Albany, I liked it 1.5 at 3. I'm not as high on it. But let's get into some other things here. Just kind of wrap the show up here. What do you have on some conference tournament stuff, Donnie?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over, because I know there's, the big boys are getting started underway. Just maybe give a feeler for some of the conferences that we wanted to look at. I have most of the brackets up there. If you take a look, kicking off and getting into first round of the ACC tournament tomorrow, Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, BC, Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. I mean, they're games you can really – that's just background noise from what we're looking at. Any thoughts from your end, big man, in the ACC? We all know North Carolina, Louisville and Duke, they're all going to be there. Is there any outlying team that you think that you might be able to grab some value with in the ACC that could make a run, maybe win 2 or 3 games there?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, I kind of looking at Notre Dame a little bit in that conference. I think I think they're a team that if they can get hot, they will have the opportunity to do that. They kind of avoid Louisville, Duke, UNC. They do have a favorable draw. I would probably say them. I think the bottom of that conference is beatable. I mean, Florida State's obviously a team that's pretty good, but I think it's beatable. I'm not worried about Virginia Tech away from home. I'm not really into the rest. Maybe Notre Dame, but I think that conference is sorely overrated in the grand scheme of things. But people like it. It gets the love constantly. But I would probably say Notre Dame. I think they have.
That's not a bad one too, because if you look at pricing there, you're going to get about 9 or 10 to 1 with Notre Dame. Clearly, the easiest schedule coming. I mean, yes, they're going to have to go through a dogfight for Virginia, but if Notre Dame, that is like the perfect offense to dissect that Virginia defense. And we all know Virginia doesn't score on anybody. Not to say Notre Dame is a great defense. And Florida State's the most enigmatic team in the ACC. Either they come to play and put 100 up, or they look absolutely foolish when they come to play. So I agree. Even as a nice hedge option, you could see Notre Dame getting in the final versus maybe a Carolina or a Louisville making some good money off that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Real quick, Donnie, someone's asking about Vermont over. I'm not interested in that game as far as the over. New Hampshire, very slow-paced. Vermont, a team that is fantastic on the defensive end. That's really going to be a half-court game. Look, if Vermont gets hot, they can roll in this one and maybe cover. But neither team shoots particularly well from the three-point line. As far as again, slow pace, good defense. I'm not interested in the over. As far as is it the best conference in the country? Nathan's saying I disagree, but again, I'm going to point out. I mean, other than UNC, other than that, is there a great team in this conference? I mean, seriously.
I think overall it probably is. I mean, you can't really look from top to bottom there, but I know people say the Big 12 and they want to point to the Big 12. I can't stand the Big 12. I mean, I like the way Kansas plays basketball, but if you just take Kansas out of there, I think the Big 12 has the same exact team 15 different ways. I know West Virginia is pretty good in that, but I would tend to lean as overall the ACC probably is the best.
Yeah, I think the Pac-12 is the best conference. I mean, this year, I think the Pac-12 is the best conference. I mean, Arizona's fantastic. Oregon, UCLA. I mean, the middle tier of that conference is better than what the ACC is. Utah's a really tough team at times. USC was great for most of the year. Colorado's always tough to play there. Cal's had a tough year. I think they need to move on from Konzo Martin. Washington was down this year. Stanford was down this year. And even with those teams being down, it was still a very good conference. But that's neither here nor there. What else do you got, Don?
By the way, I'm glad you brought up the Pac-12 there because we're going to get into it right now. Look at this. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you know my disdain for a couple certain teams there in the Pac-12, namely California, Oregon State. A 5:30 tip in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament. Is anybody going to watch that one, or does anybody care about that one? But for me, in the Pac-12 itself, I think it comes down to two teams. I mean, I like Arizona as a ball club, don't get me wrong, but I think it's Oregon and UCLA. Those are the two teams I want to see in the championship game, just to see that up-front, up-and-down pace there. I think they are the best two overall teams in the conference. Do you have any thoughts on that, big man, what you're looking at there?
Well, yeah, one thing I will do is I will make it a point next year to go out to Vegas during this week and go to this tournament. This would be a great thing to do. Go out and hang out at the books and go to the games. It's tough. From a value perspective, I think, Arizona probably, but I believe, probably in this tournament, I mean, Oregon's great. I don't know. It's a toss-up. I mean, I think, UCLA, Arizona, Oregon, I think you're going to have three teams there that, really, really can win it. I would probably take Arizona just from the 370 you're going to get back. I'm not crazy about at a one. I don't lay conference tournaments anything less than like 350. I'm not really high on that. It'll be a great tournament to watch. From a standpoint of it should be great games. But I mean, you mentioned it. The bottom of this conference is particularly bad. I mean, there's three: Washington State, Oregon State. Cal's actually the fourth highest rated team, which is astounding. I would actually probably say Utah's better than maybe a long shot. Utah at 16-1. I think that's worth a small bet. Yeah. I do think Utah's a pretty decent team when you really look at things. But again, they're going to have to get a lot of things to go right. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, another interesting bracket there, big man, looking at is the Big Ten down in Washington, D.C. If you follow me on Twitter today, I took small pieces of Michigan and also of Maryland, matching up on opposite sides of the brackets. Maybe get one of those into the finals because you're getting good prices, plus 650 and plus 850. Looks like the one thing with Maryland has been bet down quite a bit now, down to around plus 5, plus maybe 5-1 or 6-1 at this point. But this is one of the conferences that I don't really like it per se, but you might get some value in a couple of these teams because you can see any one of these top four seeds. I mean, Purdue, Wisconsin, Maryland, Minnesota as a top four in a power conference, that's a terrible top four. Anybody that you might see as an outlier, I mean, I know I already said Michigan and Maryland, two of the favorites there, but anyway, like Iowa might be able to make a run. Indiana can make a run or anything. Do you see any of that?
No, I don't see Iowa making a run. Indiana's not winning anything. You got to be crazy. They're going to knock they're going to knock each other out.
How about everybody's love child, Northwestern? Like they're going to.
Oh yeah, they're not winning it. I think their Super Bowl was beating Michigan. They're in the tournament, so I don't think they're going to win anything. I think from a bracket standpoint. I got to be honest, I would probably pick Purdue, honestly. I know I've talked about I don't like their guards, but I think they're imposing as far as the bigs are concerned. And, to be honest, I think Michigan would be a pretty good match for them. I know Michigan beat them in the first game, but I think that's only going to add the intrigue of this game in this conference. Minnesota, I think, for them, very beatable. From a bracket standpoint, I would say Purdue. The most talented team in this conference to me is I like Michigan a lot. I've made that point. I think they've gotten better and better. Wisconsin has really tailed off. I think Maryland will beat them in the quarterfinals. I don't know. This is a shit show of a conference. You talk about a conference that was really down this year. It would be this one. I'll go with Purdue, but I'm not betting it.
We'll go with two more here just to take a quick look at. How about the A-10 tournament setting up? A lot of these teams I follow closely, if you listen to any one of our shows that we do. Top four seeds, Dayton, VCU, Richmond, and Rhode Island, all capable of knocking each other off there. One of the lower type seeded teams in the A-10, you always see one of these guys make a run. LaSalle has the talent to do it. They just didn't get their head in the game this year. An outlier in the conference, like maybe a Fordham gets hot or a St. Bonaventure there. But I think if we look at these teams, the top four teams should be there and standing. I think Richmond's a little bit weak on that line. I would put, Dayton, Rhode Island, VCU obviously as the favorites there, and I just like the way Dayton plays, that gritty, grimy type of style. I can see them and VCU being 1 and 2 matched up very easily in the final, but I'll be rooting on Dayton in this one. Any thoughts, maybe if somebody can come up, or any preliminary ideas?
Yeah, I think this will probably be a Dayton VCU final, though. I will throw in two teams that I'm personally going to probably get in on. I think if Rhode Island can beat Dayton in that semifinal, they're a team that I think top to bottom, probably other than Dayton, is the best starting five in this conference. Rhode Island is really good and well coached. I like them for sure, but obviously if they can get past that St. Bonaventure, UMass, or St. Joe's, which they should, that's going to be a tough game. Dayton, I really like. I've made that clear. The other team that I think from a point spread perspective, you may want to take a look at, the problem is they're only going to be an underdog once because they'll be a favorite against Fordham. George Mason, maybe you get some love there with them, but their ATS magic might have worn out. None of these bottom seeds are doing anything. Fordham's not doing anything. UMass, St. Joe's, Bonaventure, intriguing just because they have Matt Mobley and Jalen Adams, but I think this is Dayton or VCU's to lose. But look out for Rhode Island. They're pretty good.
Yeah, the last one we'll go over is the AAC. And
hey, Don,
yes,
real quick, one more thing on Rhode Island. We also have to remember they're squarely on the bubble still.
Yes.
If they could beat Dayton, that will put them in the tournament.
No, I agree.
That win.
I
so
agree.
look for some renewed effort from Rhode Island. The price is a little low, though.
Yeah. Now we'll go to the AAC with your boys holding down the top position, SMU. The good thing for SMU here, it's only going to be a resume builder because they have the best draw you could possibly get. Cincinnati and Houston in the opposite bracket with the UConns, might be able to make a charge down on that bottom end. But, Temple, East Carolina, we can probably both agree. As much as we like Temple, want to root for Temple, Temple's not going to give SMU too much of any problems. And then matching up in the quarterfinals, Memphis and UCF will beat up on each other. SMU is going to be a clear favorite in any one they get. So just getting to the final game with the least resistance, SMU by far has that matchup there. Who do you think might be able to knock SMU off? I know Cincinnati, that tough, grimy type game. Yeah. Houston's going to bring the defense. This is one of those conferences, to be honest with you, the top 5 to 6 teams really play defense.
Yeah, it sucks because they gave my boys the Temple Owls. They gave them a tough draw. Obviously,
Temple shocked the world, baby.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for it if they can get past East Carolina, which I think we've made clear with this Temple team. The games that they should win, they normally have trouble with. For me, I would probably go with Central Florida. Probably, I think, obviously you look at when they played SMU this year. Very competitive game. They only lost by 5, which, against SMU, it's pretty impressive. The thing you have with Central Florida is defensively they're fantastic. And they have a kid who is just taller than everyone else. Also, you're always going to have a leg up on SMU because they don't have a ton of depth, which I've said means absolutely nothing with this team. But, in this bracket, I think as a 4 seed, if they, again, very much like Rhode Island, if they can they're also kind of a bubble team. If they could somehow go far in this tournament, who knows? If they can beat SMU, I think they will win this conference tournament because I'm not very much in love with Cincinnati away from home. Look for Central Florida, maybe.
In the AAC here, too, as well, don't forget that UConn will be hosting this tournament itself, and we've seen them make some runs. Not to say this is your UConn of a couple years ago that can make a run and win a title, but it is kind of interesting that they're going to be.
I'll tell you what, Don, you make a good point. They do have a favorable bracket. They get South Florida, who's dreadful. Yep. Houston has looked poor. Cincinnati. You never know. They do avoid SMU. They are at home, but this team is bad. Connecticut is poor. They've had a tough year. This is tough. I'll be rooting for Temple as a fan of them, but. So what? You don't want to bet on South Florida here in this one?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be taking a future on that.
Come on, put $1 on them. It's
me and you're going to load up on Temple, man. Make this run. I guarantee you this: if Temple makes the tournament and wins, me and you, no matter where they go, we might have to fly out there.
I'll tell you what. If here's what I'll say about it: if Temple gets to the final, I will go to this game.
Yes, there you go. Let's do it. There it is. That's a
not for nothing. I wouldn't mind seeing them against SMU, but I get the feeling it's going to be a blowout, so I don't want to go. But if they get to the final, I probably
It's not
will.
a terribly long ride from us.
Nah.
Hartford, you know what I mean?
Here, one other thing, Don. If you would bet South Florida, a $5 bet would win you $1,500. So
And I'd rather save the $5.
yeah, put the $5 on a nice 2-team money line parlay.
Hey, maybe a 4-teamer as well.
Donnie, great stuff, man. I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow, the roundtable. We got plenty of great guys on there. We should have a great conversation. Also, keep a lookout every Wednesday and Friday, the right side of campus. We are going a little bit early this week. All of our shows this week on SBR, the roundtable and the right side of campus will be at 12 o'clock Eastern instead of 12:30, giving us an extra half an hour to have some fun on the airwaves. So join us tomorrow. Should be fun. Obviously have your questions available. We'll break it all down. Anything else tonight, Don?
No, I'm going to get to work, and as you know, reach out to me and Jeff on Twitter, because again, we're going to be immersed in probably this Nebraska-Omaha game at 9:30 anyway, going back and forth. Anything you have any questions, just get on Twitter and shout us out, man. This is fun. This is the best time of the year.
Yeah, I will probably be live tweeting that Omaha game, just because I want to see. What do you think about a little parlay, Donnie, over Central Michigan, over IUPUI?
Let's do it. We got money to burn, right?
Might as well, right? Let's use our soccer money and just bet it on that.
Yeah, that's right. We do have free money. Yeah, see, I used the soccer money with my futures from Michigan and Maryland, so I'm already tied up, man. I'm broke.
There you go. All right, guys. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for listening. As always, for me tonight, I like Iona on the money line. I also like the Gonzaga Bulldogs -21. Your two plays of the day. Thank you as always to Donnie Wrightside for joining me. Donnie, thanks as always. We'll chat with you tomorrow on the or on the roundtable.
Peace.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys, for listening. As always, I am the big man on campus. I will be back with you tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern, where we, as always, break down the card in general. Everyone have a great night. Dan Kelly, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I also saw you mentioned about touts earlier. I am not a tout. I'm a guy that bets on games and gives them to people, and they pay me for that. I don't market. I don't blow up people's inboxes. That is not my style. If you want me, you know where to find me, but I'm not someone that's going to hassle you. If we don't work, we don't work. But I urge you, you want to see what I'm doing, you can get on board very cheap. You're not happy, I'll give you your money back. It's a very easy situation. We are doing well right now. I was 12-4 last week. I'm 19-9 over the last 3 weeks, and since February 1st, I'm 60%. If you want to jump on my team, feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you a nice deal. It basically will be the price of your bet per game. That's all you got to do. I want to get people on board. I want people to make money, and I want people to be happy. So, I'll give you my best, give you my all, but I will continue to provide great free information. That's my goal in doing all this content. I want people to see me. I want someone to find me and say, I want to give him a show. That's my goal. My goal is not to tout. I'm not going to tout for very much longer. My goal is to do this for a living and be able to just give this information out for free. Everyone have a great night. Thank you as always for listening. Greetings from Norway. Welcome in. Thank you for listening, Lars. It's awesome to hear from someone in another country. We've had plenty of guys from other countries. I don't think, though, we've had anyone from Norway. So welcome in, and thank you for listening. It's probably pretty late over there. You should get to bed. But as always, guys, enjoy your night. We'll see you back Tuesday. Join us at 12 o'clock for the roundtable at SBR Sports Picks. We're also back at 5 o'clock Eastern. Everyone have a great night. Bye-bye.